my lovelies, long time no see, but it's halfway through the year, so that means it's time for me to come out of hibernation to film that one booktube video that I always film, which is the mid-year book freakout tag. Last year I filmed this tag. I didn't actually end up reading a lot of the books that I said I was going to read for the last question, and also I explained that I've been reading through some medieval Icelandic sagas for a PhD proposal. And this year I can say that my PhD proposal was accepted and I'm starting a PhD in September, so I am still reading through the medieval Icelandic sagas all over again in order to do research for that, which also means that there's a lot of books that I've read this year which are not good for fictional crushes. So because I've been reading through a lot of medieval Icelandic literature, and because I'm trying to read through some series that I've already started and reread all of Sarah J Maas's books in preparation for the Crescent City Free book in 2024, it means that I found it quite hard to pull together the answers for the questions this year. But without further ado, let's get into it. So, question number 1 is best book you've read so far in 2023, and this one is always a hard one to pick because there's quite a few standout reads, so I'm going to pick a physical read and an audiobook read and also have runners-up, so I am cheating. So the runner-up for my physical favourite read was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenson. I enjoyed this a lot more than The Starless Sea. I think The Starless Sea dipped in the middle, but The Night Circus had this amazing growth to it because you saw the characters from when they were kids to when they were fully grown adults, and you watched the circus expand and grow and evolve around them, and I found that magical. The winner for my favourite book in 2023 so far is, of course, The Chonk, The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. When they call this book fantasy epic, they really do mean fantasy epic. It had everything that I would want in a fantasy series, all in one fantasy book. It had pirates, it had dragons, it had a slow burn sapphic romance, which was complicated because of the power dynamics and all the complicated politics that are going on. I especially love that the world of this book isn't just what's contemporary to the narrative. The world of this book has a history that goes thousands of years before the actual events of the narrative, and because of that exploration of history, you get to see how different history becomes legend, and then how different legend becomes different religions, and it's so amazing. And I can't wait to read the prequel book and everything else that Samantha Shannon has written. The runner-up for my favourite read as an audiobook in the year so far is A Dowry of Blood. I just found the narration so sensual, which fit the story of a Dracula retelling so well, especially because it's the focus on Dracula's brides, and this reimagining really did do Dracula's brides justice, and once again, it is queer, so I loved it. But the best audiobook I've read so far this year, and possibly ever, is Jeanette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. Now, this is a memoir of how she became a child actor and how this was her mum's idea to push her into it. And the story is told chronologically, so Jeanette slowly realises that the relationship she has with her mother is abusive, and it's just one of those powerful stories that you just have to hear in Jeanette's own voice and in her own words, because she really beautifully wrote this story and she managed it incredibly. Question number 2 is best sequel that you've read so far in 2023, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't read many new sequels because I'm doing a lot of rereads. So I'm going to put 2 books for this, and they're both rereads, and the first one is Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas, because I'm reading through all of Sarah J Maas's books at the moment, and I've just got to this one last month, and I can't believe how amazing it is even on the reread. Again, intricate fantasy politics, hello Loppy, and I truly believe that the Throne of Glass series gets better with every single book. Again, I'm also going to pick an audio book for this answer, and this is also a reread, and it is The Hunger Games Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. I really think that Catching Fire is the peak of the Hunger Games trilogy because it's the perfect combination of the political games and propaganda of book 3, but also the gory thrills of the battle to the death from book 1 that makes us no better than the actual capital themselves. The Hunger Games is one of those trilogies that I think the more you grow up and the more you reread the book, the more you get out of it. And this time round, I really engaged with the fact that every character has their own motivations, and I just love that we get to know the people of District 12 a lot in The Hunger Games Catching Fire, which you just don't get in the movies, and that just makes the final words of the book so much more traumatic. Question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to, and I'm going to pick a book that came out last month, and that is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. Now, this is a very queer Arthurian retelling, and I did a module on medieval Arthurian literature online early this year, so I'm very excited to do something that's going to be a very modern take on the Arthurian legends that's going to flip it on its head completely. Just like in the Arthurian legends, Gwen and Art are promised in marriage. However, unlike the legends, Gwen really doesn't like Art. And that's because she's in love with the court's only female knight, whereas Art has been caught kissing the stable boy. So I'm really excited to see where this one's going to go. I'm getting further and further down the more we film this video, but number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of 2023, and actually I don't think there is anything that I'm particularly waiting on for the rest of the year because I'm trying not to buy books. And the thing that I'm really waiting for is Crescent City 3 by Sarah J Maas, but that doesn't come out until January 2024, so it doesn't count for this question. And because this book is going to be so big, it eclipses everything else that I'm waiting for. I know a lot of people are waiting on Iron Flame later this year, but I can't even say that because I haven't read The Fourth Wing yet, and that's because I'm trying not to buy books, and that's one of those books that I definitely think I'm going to want as a physical copy, and because everybody says it's so good that it's made all other books hard to read, and I'm scared of that. I don't want to do that right now, not when I've got Sarah J Maas books to read. So possibly if I had to give an answer, I'm going to say The Atlas Complex, but that's also a bit of a cheat answer because although I really enjoyed The Atlas Xx, I still haven't read The Atlas Paradox, which is book 2. So maybe I shouldn't be waiting on book 3 just yet. But honestly, nothing else matters when the ending of Crescent City 2 was so mind-blowing and such a cliffhanger that the only book I'm really waiting for is Crescent City 3 in January 2024. Question number 5 is the biggest disappointment, and it hurts me to say this, but my biggest disappointment so far this year is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black, which is part of the follow-up duology to the original Cruel Prince trilogy. This had none of the feel of the original trilogy. The world building didn't even feel the same, even though it's set in the same world, and all that amazing tension that was between Jude and Cardan and even Taran and Locke in the original series wasn't here at all between Ren and Oak. Ren and Oak just felt like such hollow characters. We needed to see more on the page about their relationship rather than it all happening with talk off the page, and it was so irritating. Ren and Oak just had no chemistry between them whatsoever, and this book felt like it was a completely different vibe in the world building than it was in the original trilogy. So the original trilogy is about the perils and navigation of court politics, whereas this one is more of a quest, which I don't like so much, and it also puts these characters in isolation with each other, and then nothing happens. Like, no character building happens between them. Anything that builds up the relationship happens off the page. So much information is kept from the reader, but not in a way that builds up good tension. It was all just felt like a book that I was getting through for the sake of reading rather than I was enjoying. So I am not in a rush to read the next book, which is really disappointing because I really enjoyed the original trilogy, and I will reread the original trilogy over and over and over again, even though it's flawed. This, however, it's gonna go away. Question number 6 is biggest surprise of the year, and I'm going to say Queen of the Tiles by Hannah Alcath. Now, this is a book that I didn't know existed. I just randomly saw it one day because a friend's TBR'd it on Goodreads, and I was like, that is a really sick-ass cover. I need to check out what this is about. And it turns out it's a murder mystery at a Scrabble tournament. So, of course, I put a library hold on it, and then I loved it. This book is fast-paced, it's engaging, it's full of twists and turns, and it's an absolute joy to read. Every chapter starts with a Scrabble word, its definition, and how many points it scores in Scrabble. And our main character explores her feelings through different Scrabble words, and that's really beautifully integrated into the writing. I had my suspicions about who it was going to be in the murder mystery, but the ending completely surprised me and was the perfect ending for this book. If you're looking for a dark, gritty, intense murder mystery, this is not that book. However, if you're looking for a short YA murder mystery that you can fly through to an ending that has closure and hope, then this is definitely the book for you. It fits that tone and pace perfectly. Not to mention that there's subtle representation weaved throughout the book, and I definitely want to check out more of this author's work. Honourable mention to Verity by Colleen Hoover, just because that plot gave me trust issues and had plenty of surprises in it. Question number 7 is newest favourite author, debut or new to you, and I'm going to say, sorry Loppy, she's leaning on the book, Samantha Shannon. This is the only Samantha Shannon book I've read, but this book is an absolute masterclass in fantasy writing, and I now trust Samantha Shannon with my soul. I'm definitely going to be reading everything she releases relating to the Priory of the Orange Tree, and it's now also made me really want to read her other series, The Bone Season. Question number 8 is newest fictional crush, and like I said at the beginning, you don't really get crushes reading medieval literature, so I haven't really got one, to be honest. A lot of the characters that I crush on in the books I've read so far this year are characters I've already read before, so I think I'm probably going to say Sabran from the Priory of the Orange Tree, just because she was such an interesting character with a lot of character development, and also, she's gorgeous. Question number 9 is newest favourite character, and again, a hard one for me to pick because I've been doing a lot of rereads, so the characters aren't new, and I've been doing a lot of medieval literature, so I could say Sabran for this one as well because she's such an interesting character. However, I'm going to say Miranda from the Morganville Vampire series. Now, Miranda is not a new character, she's been around since about book 3. However, I just recently finished reading book 13 out of 15, and Miranda gets such an interesting character arc in this book that I now just want to hold her really tight and never let her go, and if anything happens to her, which I suspect it will, I am going to cry. But Miranda is just the sweetest little thing, and she dresses how I would dress, and she's a kid that just needs to be protected at all costs, along with Bob the Spider. Question number 10 is a book that made you cry, and Bitter Blood by Rachel Kane, the 13th book in the Morganville Vampire series, almost made me cry. That ending was certainly bitter, and you just know that the next book in the series, book 14 out of 15 and book 15, is going to have a lot of hurt in it. But the book that actually had me sobbing at 1 a.m. was Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas. I was in tears the first time I read it, but this time round I was an absolute sobbing mess because I'm so much more emotionally invested in the characters when I've been tabbing and annotating the series. And also, it's an ending that's so full of hurt and so full of pain, and our characters are scattered and they're being tormented. However, they've got to move on and continue fighting with hope as if this torment isn't happening. And it's just mind-blowing and makes me want to cry for what's happening to them all. I can't say much more without it being major spoilers, but if you know, you know, things are in deep shit at the end of this book, and people have just got to keep on fighting as if it's not happening. Question number 11 is a book that made you happy, and I'm going to put The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, which I read on my Kindle. Okay, hear me out. Is the premise that gets the ball rolling kind of dumb? Yeah, it is. But did I enjoy the hell out of it anyways? Absolutely. Honestly, this just hit the spot for the pining for romance that I was having at the time, and it's not just romance, it's romance written by a neuroscientist who kept the plot engaging enough to be enjoyable beyond just my cravings to see a couple be happy together and cute. And I will absolutely pick up another Ali Hazelwood book the next time I have a craving for cute romances that are easy to read and have just that little bit of spice. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought so far in 2023. And I'm trying not to buy so many books at the moment because I am running out of space to put books, and I've managed to keep the number of books I've bought so far this year under a dozen, and I'm actually quite proud of that. My honourable mention for this question goes to the cover design for Anatomy: A Love Story, because the woman in the middle, her dress makes up the anatomal heart. Now if you zoom out, it just looks like a heart, but once you zoom in, you actually realise that there's a woman in the centre and it's the fabric of her dress that creates the heart. However, the most beautiful book that I've bought so far this year is The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. This is a book that is about a woman who starts working for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and she gets assigned to the Cloisters, which is where the medieval and Renaissance collections is. And then a mystery surrounding the discovery of 15th century Italian tarot cards starts to unfold. So not only is it beautiful on the front, it's also sprayed edges on the sides, and the inside covers are the 15th century tarot cards that form the story, with at the back tables on how to read them. So the cloisters that she's been assigned to work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art are actually in the gardens. So the skull is made out of foliage, which is just incredible and amazing, and this book is so beautiful, and I've yet to read it. Question number 13 is, what books do you need to read before the end of the year? Now, last year I said a lot of books that I didn't actually end up reading, but this year I'm going to try harder. So to start with, I need to finish reading the books in the 12 challenge list. So that's 12 books recommended by 12 friends to read in 12 months, and I made a good start on that list, and I will get that finished before the end of the year. I've also got a TBR for when we go on holiday to Anglesey for a week this month, and that includes Anatomy, a Love Story, Gwen and Art Are Not in Love, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, and I'm going to try and take out the library, Book Lovers and The Offing. And of course, in preparation for the release of Crescent City 3 in January 2024, I want to finish rereading all of Sarah J Maas's books. I've got Tower of Dawn and Kingdom of Ash still left to go in the Throne of Glass series. I then want to read the ACOTAR series again and then reread the first 2 Crescent City books. Hello, George. And then I've also picked out 3 books that I specifically want to read before the end of the year, and that includes Babel. I'm going to take Babel to university with me when I start my PhD in September, because I feel like this is an academic read and also an autumn read. I also want to read The Atlas Paradox, because then I know whether I want to pre-order or order the Atlas Complex, the last book in the series, and this is also very beautiful. And of course, I want to read the prequel to The Priory of the Orange Tree, which is A Day of Fallen Night, because I love The Priory of the Orange Tree and I'm so excited to read a book that's set a good couple of 100 years before that narrative. You can tell it's the end of the video because there are now books everywhere on my bed. But that was the mid-year book freakout tag. Thank you for watching, all 3 of you that I know come back each year for the mid-year book freakout tag. If anybody else has stumbled across this video, I'm going to try and be more active on YouTube. I'm going to do summer vlogs again, mostly because I really enjoyed rewatching them myself as video diaries and seeing Mr. Tuppence as a really tiny little puppy. I also, when I get back to university in September, want to start doing study vlogs again and more book related videos and study related videos. So thank you for watching. Drop a like, follow the Instagram if you like books and studying, and I will see you in another video. Bye.